Hey, Trails Collective. This is Ian.
And I'm Ellie.
We're doing weekly rundown number 2 for March 10th, 2020. The weekly rundown is really trying to be a synopsis of what's going on in trail running world in the Northeast plus the Virginias, which is the area where we're focusing on out of the gates. What events maybe happened last week of note? What events are happening this weekend? Any new registrations that are opening? Trail events that are happening? As we get on and into this further and as we build the community around it, my hope is that we'll hear from more of you about events that you want us to mention in the upcoming week. We also want to do a better job of finding maybe things like trail work projects that are happening out there that we can announce. So we'll also need, as we go, info from all of you. If you work with a certain trail or conservation association in your area, let us know what they are and if they've got any projects coming. If you're a run specialty store out there and you want to do a group trail run with maybe a rep that's coming through, let us know and we can see if we can announce that. And we'll try to make these things more functional. Also, as we go, if there's any new gear releasing, maybe that we're covering, or gear review going live, we'll mention that. At the moment, pretty quiet. Some released in February, some coming in the spring, but we'll try to cover that. So for sure, let us know as things come up and we'll try to cover it. So let's get into Ellie. What's shaking last week?
Last week, we'll start with there was a last runner standing in Greece, New York, put on by the Trail Methods. The winner for the women's race was Katie Ghidue, and she actually took second overall. And then for the men, who finished with 25 loops out of a possible 26, was Davin Oskvig. And Davin told me that the reason it only went to 25 loops was because he threw down a pretty impressive 25th loop, and he just scared off the last man that was chasing him. I don't know. What do you think about that, Ian?
I don't know, it's possible. Davin's a pretty fit dude, and especially if he's out there sporting a checkered button down, it can be pretty intimidating. So it would have been fun to try to chase him down, but nice work, Davin.
And it looks like he's training for a faster marathon this coming April in DC.
Sweet. One of the ones that I had fun with last week finding and announcing was the Humdinger trail races down in PA. I had a chance to chat, or at least get the feedback from Lee Strappello and Nicole Yokum, who were the men's and women's winners this year. Both had a really great time, said the conditions were pretty dry, pretty fast. They both commented on just the format of the event, where there's a longer distance and a shorter, and the longer splits off from the shorter a couple times and then rejoins, and they felt like they were passing the same people multiple times. He said once you get up into the single track, it was kind of cool. Ebbing and flowing, banked turns. I think Lee said it felt like it was a combination between a bobsled track and a roller coaster. Got some pictures here we'll be posting as we talk. The thing that I thought was just pretty wild is the pig barn obstacle at the end. And I guess you go up a short, steep up, and then you get to choose between 3 different obstacles of climbing up into the pig barn before the finish. They both commented and post some pictures where they got some pretty sweet winners swag or awards. Not only was it just kind of fun and funny, but it was also really useful. They got to score some bacon, both real and legit, as well as the veggie style, as well as I think a blanket and cast iron cookware. So that's the kind of swag and winners items that I'm all about. I'm not so much of a medals guy. I want it to be functional. So Humdinger, it just made me all the more interested in your race. Nice work. So I'm hoping to be there next year.
Last week also we mentioned the No Man's 50K, a women's only 50K. Kendra Barber just barely outran Lauren Morrow by about 30 seconds to finish first in 6:31. Both of the ladies also hail from Virginia, and Barber's time is the 3rd fastest run on the course. When I was looking at the course record, it's actually 5:40, held by Mariska Kramer, who was 44 years of age. So based on those times, I'm thinking that the course is pretty gnarly.
We had the Maniac 11 hour as well.
So for the Maniac 11th hour that started at 8 p.m., it took place on a 3.7-mile loop in Williamsburg, Virginia. And it's a sister race to the 13-hour version that happens in November. Both Patrick Early and Mike Kapitanikis tied for 56.3 miles.
65.3.
65.3 miles. So they tied. So I'm wondering if it was a holding hands situation at the end, kind of like Killian and Schlarb at Hard Rock a couple years ago. And then third place overall and first female was Megan Schultz with 55.5 miles.
Well done. And some of the regional trail media this week. The Connecticut Trail Ultra Crew being really consistent with another one this week. It aired, I think, on the 6th, just a couple days ago. They dug in a little bit on seasonal affective disorder and hammered a bit on USATF and marathons. I didn't get a chance to listen to that one, but I'm kind of interested on the hammering there. And being in upstate New York, by the time we get to March each year, I think we hear you on seasonal affective disorder. So check that out if you're interested. The Pain Cave and Running Inside Out is two podcasts were quiet again this week. Life is Trail Running. Thanks for reaching out to us, and I've talked to you in the shop here before. We'll connect further, but they released a video this week on cooking, and I did catch it as well. So it was cooking with Pamela and Alicia. And then Ridge Runners, their newest video out is Ohio's Backyard Ultra Hype video. So check it out. Links here in the notes section. Any others to check out also in trail media, let us know. If we're missing podcasts that are running regularly out there or any that are nationwide but featuring sort of Northeast trail runners or trail events, for sure let us know and we'd like to plug it or check it out. So looking at the weekend ahead, first up.
The B&A Trail Marathon in Severna Park, Maryland. I looked at this and I definitely said, this is my kind of race. It's kind of run 2 miles on streets and then a rail trail. So I know that might be a little bit boring to most of us East Coasters, but there's only one hill and it seems like something I could just fly down. So I know some people resonate with that. Registration is closed for good reason, but definitely keep it in mind for next year for something a little bit faster for your winter road legs.
Next one on the weekend ahead is one of the Bad to the Bone endurance events, the Belmonte Endurance Races in Lyndhurst, Virginia. This is one that is a UTMB qualifier. It has a decent amount of climb. 3 points for the 50 mile, 2 for the 50K, and 1 point for the 25K. I know the UTMB points is a pretty big motivator for a lot of people out there. But it looks like with this one you can register right up to the race, 6 a.m. starting time this weekend. Check it out if you're interested. I think the top two, I think at least in the 50 mile, are the Rozeckis with Brian and Amy in terms of just their ranking in the event. So maybe I can catch up with Brian and Amy afterward, and knowing that they've been everywhere and done a lot of races, we'll see what they say about it.
So the Blades 10 miler in Snow Hill, Maryland is also next weekend. The baby brother of the Algonquin 50K, which is pretty popular because I've even heard of it. And you can either run, it's the race website claims you can run 10 miles in the dark or 10 miles in the light or just 10 miles in the light. Not really sure what that means, but hey, I mean, if you go, show up, tell us how it went. What exactly does that mean?
Two others, we're going to term it the need for a secret handshake to find out anything useful about the race's online category. So Pocahontas Trail Fest, full marathon, half marathon, and relay, Chesterfield, Virginia, and the Montvale 5 and 10 mile trail races in Montvale, Virginia. And that's 5 and 10 miles run in the Bedford County Park. And as we said with the category, throw us a bone here and giving us any content for these races.
Throw me a frickin' bone here.
And then the weekend, also this weekend ahead, we got the Elizabeth Furnace Fat Ass 50K in Fort Valley, Virginia. This is one it was a lottery base, which I thought was really interesting to have a lottery for Fat Ass. Only 75 entrants, and imagine it fills up or there's some demand. It was also interesting that it's a pretty challenging course of single track and mountain roads. It said 5 stream crossings, and if I remember right, there's a decent amount of maybe elevation climb on the loops, or at least significant for a looping fat ass style course. Runners have to carry their own course turn sheets describing the various blazed trails, and so it sounds pretty interesting. So I guess really one to check out and get in the lottery for next year.
Double Squatch in Branchville, New Jersey is also happening next week. This one sounds actually really awesome, and I've never heard of a format like this. It's both on Saturday and Sunday, and you can choose to do the 6-hour, the 3-hour, or the 5K distance on both of the days. So you could do the 6-hour on Saturday, 3-hour on Sunday, 6-hour, 6-hour, 5K, 6-hour. That would be ambitious. And then the combination of your times, you figure it out, and each category has a winner. And I couldn't help but thinking that how many people signed up for the 6-hour and the 6-hour, and then decided to do the 6-hour and the 3-hour. But it's a really cool format. And they're after this weekend, their next event it occurs on a 3.7-mile loop. And I'm assuming that the next event, which happens on April 11th, the Last Squatch Standing, another last man standing style event, occurs on the same loop.
And then one of the pieces that I also want to make sure we cover here is letting you know when some of the registrations go live for events, to try to make sure you can catch them or give you the heads up. This is something hopefully we'll get better at as more event directors maybe tune in and give us the heads up. One that reached out to us last week, and in the blur of the week I forgot to get it plugged, was the Eagleton Trail Challenge in PA. I think the registration closed maybe this week or maybe a couple days ago. It's one that's coming up pretty shortly. Maybe we can do another profile about it after the race. But to that crew, thanks so much for reaching out, and we'll get smoothed out here and dialed in here pretty soon. So two that are coming up that I had my eye on when I was looking into and researching events for our event calendar. One is the Kismet Cliff Trail Races in New Hampshire. There's the Beast of the East half, and then a Little Beast 5-mile, and they're in Conway, New Hampshire. And I just thought the course looked really beautiful. I think a couple of significant climbs to it. And if the picture was anything like the course or some of the photos, it was just a really beautiful sounding race. They were really late, I think, on getting a race date out, but it looks like race date is up for September 20th, and registration is live. And then one a little ahead of that, one that I also really had my eye on, is the Mount Mansfield Double Up. That's on July 26th and based at Stowe, Vermont. I was really hoping to have this be a kind of my Vermont trail race and film video project for this year, but it happens to occur on the same weekend as Escarpment, and I'm really hoping to run Escarpment again this year in New York. But the Mount Mansfield Double Up is 5,000 feet of climbing over 11 miles, and it runs over Vermont's highest ridgeline. It's limited to just 70 participants. Registration just went live. So if you have any interest in getting up to Stowe on July 26th, it looks like a really beautiful course. Only 70 participants. I'm guessing it's going to fill pretty quick, and we'll have a link here at the end or in the notes that you can check out. But definitely take a look. So that's what we've got for this week. Ellie, anything you want to add?
That Mansfield Double Up looks legit. Like 5,000 feet of climbing. I can feel my legs hurting right now.
That's a good amount of climbing in 11 miles. Probably a little bit more per mile than frozen snot.
Would you need poles?
I don't know. If you didn't Mount Mansfield last year, let us know. If it's a pole course, it seems like it would be a good contender, but it really does look beautiful. So check this out. Again, if you can, any social media, share this. Let other people know. This becomes more effective the more that people reach out to us. So if you got anything coming up, reach out. Facebook, Instagram, we'll get live with here pretty soon, and the website should be live here in the next couple weeks. So thanks for tuning in for the second edition of the Weekly Rundown, and we'll talk to you next week.